Welcome to the show, Jonathan Scratchley. You have worked as a musician, chef, teacher, and event promoter. You are currently a music teacher. Also, you are founder and company director of DRJ Events, which is an event planning company, also doing multi-arts festivals. You also are the lead singer of Gentleman's Dub Club, which is a live performance group. Perhaps you can tell us a little bit more about that, Jonathan. So there's lots and lots that you've been involved with in the music business over your career. It's great to have you on, Jonathan. Thank you so much for joining us, and please do tell us more.
Yeah, thanks so much. That's an epic introduction. I appreciate it.
Thank you. I try.
I was kind of force-fed music when I was younger. My dad's a conductor, and so from the age of 9, he had me like singing and moving around, and so I was always kind of prepped to be in music, and particularly to sing. But then I didn't really enjoy it, I don't think, until I was about 17 or 18. I was a classical singer. I was going to go and be an opera singer. I had a place to go and study opera, and then so I got into to do music at university instead. But anyway, when I was 17, my life changed because I suddenly went to a club to listen to music rather than a concert hall, and I realized what it was. I fell in love with it first through drum and bass, and then through dub music, really. And being able to listen on a proper sound system with people, celebrating the moment, and then it all made sense to me. I count myself very fortunate. So when I was 21, just leaving Leeds University, I met a group of people. We started some festivals together. And so that was MVS, and we started a festival called Outlook Festival, which is like a bass music sound system culture, very much following the kind of musical genealogy from Jamaica in the late 50s and early 60s on the street corners with Ruddy Redwood and the Great Sebastian, and then all the way through to modern dance music. And so we told that story over. I was running it for 14 years, and that was a beautiful thing to do, and we were able to work with emerging artists and support them as they came through. We had like music tech on site and conversations around music. So I'd be interviewing people, would be interviewing big artists that came through, but then also booking people. So from Lauryn Hill to Busta Rhymes to Massive Attack, and some amazing artists that we were able to promote as well. So that was a really incredible project to be a part of. Really, I realized a long time ago, I was like, it doesn't really matter what I do as long as it's in music, so I can talk from my heart, and I can be legitimate. I don't need to pretend. I know that I love it. I know I've got a place in it. And so yeah, it's inspired me, and I've passed that on through teaching. I started a music charity and have been working with young people and one-on-one, often with mostly with vocals. But I've enjoyed recently how exploring the way that the use of the voice allows us all to connect to a very deep place in our souls, and so if we can tap into that almost through meditation, through being silent and being really quiet with our breath and the sound and the vibration that we create, then it can bring out these often or even like traumatic experiences and can free our voice, right? So there's two places in our body that I've experienced we really connect to our creativity. One is what is called our sacral, so our root, like our sexual energy and the creation in our pelvis, and then the throat is our access to the world and how we can communicate that. And so those are the two places that I've spent the last few years really exploring, actually, and just recognizing then the potential in other people when they really connect to that, and do it in a conscious way. It's not just it's fun, but it's really it can be really quite deep.
Wow. Very cool, man.
Very cool. Yeah.
Can you, for the people out there, can you sort of touch on what dub music is? When I think of like dubstep in a club, but see you guys on stage, there's like 8 or 9 of you in suits. You know what I mean? So can you explain sort of like what to expect from you from the Gentleman's Dub Club?
I'm going to take that from a couple of different angles, I think. So for me, what dub is it's kind of an approach toward music making, you know.
Okay.
And so the word is used a lot, you know, dubbing, this is a dub, or there's a lot of different forms of what it is. But as I understand it, it's taking a sound and then changing that sound. So the sound has been created and then seeing what you can do with it. So when you look at King Tubby as one of the originators of dub, I think he created the technology because he was an electrician, right? And he'd pull apart his like the toasters, you know, and different things, and he'd use those as bits of hardware and outboard gear. So you'd put a sound in and it would go through that and then come out differently, and then that turned into our reverbs and our echoes, you know, and everything now.
Okay.
Which is so that for me is the foundation of dub. I mean, there's obviously a social side to it, you know, and there's like the festival, Outlook Festival, when I started it, we got into this idea of sound system culture. And for me, the story that connected to me was that time in Jamaica in the 60s where there was no representation for the, you know, the everyday person in Jamaica at the time. So it was still obviously experiencing all of this madness of slavery and these, you know, these different tiers to society that would allow you or stop you from being able to do what you want to do. And the radio was all coming from America. It was all like R&B and blues and stuff from America.
Yeah.
And so there wasn't that representation for people who are on the ground and making sound. And it meant that there was no opportunity to socialize as well. And so sound system culture was, you know, it was the producer, it was the making of the speakers, it was the people at the bar, it was the security, you know, and it was the people that came. And then what happened within that was communication, love, sharing messages, an opportunity to communicate, you know, and feel relaxed in that and feel positive. And so that's a huge part of what dub music represents to me. Now, the next layer to that is where I am as a musician, and particularly as like a middle class white musician, right? So I fell in love with a style of music which came from the streets in Jamaica, and you know, there's that can either work, that can either create friction in me or I can celebrate it. And I fell in love with it through a dub act called Iration Steppers, and in reference to your thing of dubstep. So in the UK, dub music is the biggest form of dub music that's come through is steppers. So it's like 4 to the floor with the snare on the 3. Yeah. So
okay.
But that's a huge part of what we do in our sound, like from a musical point of view. It's all at 140 BPM. You do have rockers and one drop in there as well, you know, but still it's generally at 140. It's dance music, you know, it's tribal. It's like hypnotic through repetition.
Most definitely. Yeah.
And that's what got me when I was listening to it originally. And so we then tried to recreate that and enjoy it ourselves through what we had. And what we had was a group of jazz musicians. We had a couple of producers. We had me as a singer, and yeah, we just jammed with that on that sort of basic idea, and everything was born out of it.
And you developed your own sound.
Yeah, you know, I grew up. My sister, a big reggae fan, and I remember having, like, you know, Peter Tosh is probably my biggest idol in terms of a songwriter. I loved what he did.
Yeah.
And so when I then picked up a mic, my go-to was patois, you know. That's what it was, because that's what I've been listening to.
Right.
Yeah.
And then the moment I listened to a recording of that, I couldn't stand it, you know, because it didn't sound like what it felt when I was singing it.
Yeah.
And then so slowly over a course of about 4 years, I developed my own sound. I went through from there, from like copying Jamaican, you know, to then to then going proper like ska, like, all right, fuck it, yeah, come on boys, here we go. Right. And then that wasn't me as well. And so then I've kind of gotten to a point which is I've got quite a soft spoken voice, and then I rap as well. And so I just developed my sound, and so did each element of the band in that respect, you know.
You know, you guys have such a fun sound to me. I really love that, man. You know what I mean? I had a great time watching you guys. And I'm like, because, you know, people that came on before you, nobody was moving. You know what I mean? I come from a time, you know, I'm an old guy, so everybody had to move on stage. You couldn't, unless you playing jazz or something like that. You know what I mean? Tom, you got a question?
Your group, Gentleman's Dub Club, has been going since 2006, from the very beginning in your kind of musical path. You have been a teacher of music, and then you've gone into the looking at the wellness works element and that kind of the calming effect. Even just how you're talking now about how you're developing. You started off with ska and all that kind of stuff, and you've just said it literally. You've moved into a kind of a little bit more of a gentle sound, a little bit of rap in there as well. Your group's been going for that long. Is it developed in different styles, or have you always known what you wanted to be as far as the group goes? And also, I think I just want to ask a little bit more about NVS, what you did with those guys. Obviously, you stopped it in 2020. Is that something because you wanted to concentrate more on the music and the kind of live performance?
Thank you. So on the first side, no plan whatsoever. It was a case of three of us just we found one of those orange speakers, you know, the speaker company Orange. We had a big 21-inch scoop sub. And so that sounded wicked, and we were at uni together, and so we had that downstairs. And then my mate had Reason, and he just had some loops on it, and we got a UV light, and we'd just be there like for hours and hours and hours, just enjoying the space, and so it just moved on from there. And it's taken a lot of iterations. It has changed, you know. We started off as a jam band, really, where we didn't record at all. We just went to parties or got booked a little bit, and didn't know the songs we were going to play. You know, we'd probably be like, cool, we've got two chords, and then just go for 10 minutes and then stop when it feels right, and then we'll start the next one.
Yeah.
And we could do that for an hour or two or even 3 hours.
That's brilliant.
And so we really cut our teeth in that respect. And I suppose the nice thing is that I experienced it as being hyper aware of the energy in the room. You know, otherwise you can just noodle off into your own back garden with no one being connected to it. So therefore my role as a vocalist was almost as the MC. I mean, you know, when we think about the MC as, well, it's probably like Kool Herc, right? One of the first ever people to DJ and have a mic and have that kind of interaction, and that role of the MC is something that really has been a big part of what we do live. And also in reference to what you were saying, Skyler, there as well, about the energy that comes with what we do. And I just enjoy it. And I have learned over the years that I just simply have to connect to a group of people, and that's all it is. You know, musicality goes out the window. Everything disappears when you're there with a group of people. It's just you're exploring the phenomenon of the moment. It is stunning, and I think, I mean, I know that you weren't particularly playing reggae. My experience is playing reggae. Yeah, but it's still groove based music, right? The stuff from the Commodores, and that was it. It's the groove. It's like, it's the rhythm in it, you know. It's like, and I know when I step up in front of a group of people, if the rhythm isn't there within the space, it's disjointed. Right. But some audiences, and a lot of them, but especially, playing in countries where, I think, mate, we played in India once, right? At the it was like a Harley Davidson event in Goa. What? And wow. Yeah, it was mad. We were headlining this festival. There's probably like, I don't know how many people there, but they're all middle-aged Indian guys, because it's a biker festival. Right. couldn't be further away from our like target or what we used to. And I remember that was an amazing experience because they were freaked out. They were just like, what is this? What am I looking at? I don't know how to get down. Slowly, they were all actually in a semicircle, right, in front of the stage. So there's like this huge semicircle and then thousands of people behind it, but they just didn't know what to do. And slowly and surely, a few people came in and got connected, and we really pulled them in. I mean, most of them spoke English, but I don't know whether they understood a word I was saying.
That's right.
And
all about the beat,
and just pulling in, and then at one moment it locked in, and it was the groove that locked in. You know, so the melody wasn't important. In a way, the individual elements weren't important. It was just that overarching groove that really connected to people, and I could feel it. You know, I could really, really feel it. So
yeah, man. I mean, it's amazing. When I did One World with Friction, and you know, here I am, American. I'm doing a reggae tune. I laid a reggae tune, the groove, right? And he's singing the language of Twee, and I'm singing in English, right? And so whenever I say, "Hey, check the song out," because he sings first. They think that, hey, Skyler gave me the song, he must be singing it, right? And Friction starts singing in this other language, right? So one day the student say, "Hey, Skyler, what was he saying?" I go, "I don't know."
Yeah,
It's all about the beat.
that's right.
But he told me, he says, "No, I'm basically saying the same thing you saying, you know." But to have those three different elements, right? And it doesn't matter, man. It doesn't matter where you go, man. If it's all about how does it make you feel, right?
Right.
Music is emotion. That's exactly what it is for anything, you know. But the cool part is when people feel your music and they go out and buy your music and they become a fan, right? That's the most beautiful thing in the world, right? Because whenever we record, it's gonna be here for the way after we're gone, right? That's the cool thing too, you know.
Yeah, I mean, some more than others, kind of, right? I've been listening to. I've just booked a Spanish band to come and play at my festival. So I've got a new festival that I run here in Forest Row in the trees in Sussex, and I just booked an all-female Spanish band. They sing it specifically in Spanish, all of it. And I was listening to it and grooving to it for weeks and weeks and weeks. And then I was listening to it with a friend of mine who speaks Spanish. And she was like, "Do you know what they're talking about?" I'm like, "Not a clue." And then the moment that she started to tell me, like, that's what this chorus means. And that I was like, wow. I mean, I felt it first, you know, and then slowly started to understand the words that are coming out. But yeah. With NVS, so we were together and we got rocked really hard by COVID, right? So we've been developing two festivals, one Outlook Festival, which is Sound System Culture, and then Dimensions Festival, which is underground house and techno, you know, with a sort of soulful vibe to it, and the one in London as well called Sunfall. And we had a lot of other projects that I was working on with that company because we had huge reach. So we had like 25,000 people come into the festivals out in Croatia, and then lockdown hit, and we paid for almost everything, you know, up front by this stage in the year when lockdown happened, and then no one could fly to Croatia, so we had to cancel both of our events, which put us in huge financial difficulties. And we got to that stage where we just had to decide, were we going to fold, what we're going to do? And I just said at that point, I'll walk away, because it allows a bit more opportunity, less people running it. They can be a bit more nimble and make those choices. So MBS for me is no longer happening. But those festivals are still continuing, just a bit smaller than what they were when we were running.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
But I mean, people are coming back, so that's the people coming back out to see music finally, right?
Yeah, big time. Yeah,
we can't survive without that. I mean, record labels is gone, so you're gonna have to play live to make a living now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the way to go. You can't make no money from them little peanuts that they give you on Spotify and the rest of them.
Wow.
You know what I mean? That's ridiculous, right?
I don't know about you, Skyler, but I felt this. I've been playing already for 12 years before lockdown kicked in. So I was fortunate in that it could just start again without much change. But I really felt for people who were just starting their careers at that time. It seems to me as though that's really impacted a lot of people. Some that have to go into maybe a slightly more stable or like structure-based industry. But one thing that really rocked me in that was it wasn't the performing, it was being with my mates, it was being with my friends, being with my bandmates. And so to not play together for a year and a half, it heavily impacted my mental health, and but I wasn't aware of what it was until I went back. And I was in the tour bus first day and just looked around, and I was like, this is what I've been missing. You know, it's the community. It's like came for the music, stayed for the gang, you know.
Well, we're not gonna give up on what we love to do, no matter if we got a dime or a dollar. You know what I mean? Ryan, you got a question?
Yeah, I got a two-parter here. So I saw that back in August you guys played Boomtown, the festival in the UK. I saw on your social media, I mean, it was almost anxiety driven for see the sheer number of people that are out in these crowds. I was like, what is it like to, I couldn't see where the people ended. You know what I mean? Like, what is it like playing on such a large stage like that? And then I know you guys are going on tour early into 2023. So I wanted to make sure that you guys, that you got to talk about that a little bit too. So. Oh,
wicked. Thanks so much, man. I love performing. Yeah, I just enjoy it. I mean, to be honest, I find it hard to remember a lot of what goes on because it's kind of just this flash of, and I'm running around and doing everything. And so there's a different use of my memory, I think, that comes from that. That gig particularly was amazing, right? So I'm not sure how many people were there, but it was within that event, we're a big part of the event as it's grown. And so we were there when there was 5,000 people there. We're there now. There's 60,000 people there, and so we've been fortunate in that we can play to almost all of them at certain times.
Like the energy must be incredible.
Oh God,
yeah. I actually nearly cried on that show.
Oh really?
Yeah, because it was so much. So just the stage was set up, so it was like a temple of some sort, and it had these turrets, these like castle turrets up the side. And I had a plan that during the set, there's this bit where I leave stage usually for a song, and then come back on towards the end. And I came off, and I had this idea. I was like, I want to go up the turrets, so I just like ran up the stairs. It's huge, right? So it's probably 7 flights of stairs, 7, 8 flights of stairs up to this turret where I'm looking out over everyone. And then I did one song from there and then ran back down and finished off the set. And because of all the adrenaline that came from that, and I was excited, I just about had enough breath to be able to produce a note. And we go to drum and bass at the end of the set. So we go to like 165, like amen breaks. And it finished. And it was silence just for 1 second, and I landed, and I like burst into tears, and I had this like wave of emotion just filled up my whole body, and it was like nothing I've ever. There's nothing else that I've experienced that's given me that feeling. And I actually remember saying it to the audience. I was like, I feel really overwhelmed. I feel like I could cry, and suddenly I was so vulnerable. I made myself so vulnerable in that space that I then closed up because it scared me. I was freaked out by how open I was in that space. I don't know what your personal beliefs are when it comes to talking about the word like energy. But I've over the last few years spent a lot of time tapping into my body and trying to really feel what's going on inside of it. And I use this energy word to reference things that it feels obvious to me, but it's not always if you haven't experienced it. And in that space, there's let's say, I think there was about 40,000 people, right? And so their energy is all coming to me, right? I'm like this kind of go-between.
Mm.
And then I take it and I recycle it and I give it back. And then it's like, and then slowly comes back to me, and then I recycle it and it goes back. And it's this process where everything then builds and builds and builds and builds up to some form of crescendo. And I've had to learn ways to calm myself down before the show, to be ready for that, and after the show. I mean, there's nothing I can do that's going to follow that. So therefore I have to just sit down and calm down. I spend 10 minutes just breathing, just quiet by myself, and then I'm able to get back into life. Otherwise I find it really horrible to talk to people or interact, because it's a draining experience, and I feel like I'm still holding on to the energy of all those people, and so I then need to just clean myself out and then be able to come back to communicating with people.
There's nothing like entertaining. I mean, the adrenaline from the love.
As I've experienced music, there's a release that comes with it. And so when I write, I get into that stage, where it's kind of we're here together, we're moving, we're sharing, we're here, and then there's I'm just letting go and I'm present. It feels to me like that's all we're trying to search for, is like something that's going to bring us into the present moment without anything else clouding it, where we can just experience it. It unifies, it's like exploring, like I said, the phenomenon of what's happening right here. And in that space, you can get feedback. People all bring their own energy. We're coming together and it's like, right, let's mash it up. And it's experiencing connection. It's experiencing other human beings through shared love. For me, that's my access point to that, I think. And by the end of that time that we've been together, maybe through Spotify, maybe through being in a field together or a venue, but when we leave that, there's a sense of nourishment, there's a sense of fulfillment. There's a sense of joy.
I just wrote a tribute song for dancers. It's called Dance Like I'm Losing My Mind, right? And I went and got all these dancers from all parts of the world to, just film yourself dancing to my tune. And they did. And it's really, really beautiful. But we couldn't go entertain, but dancers couldn't go do anything neither, right? And so I did a tribute to them. But man, you wait all day long. There's people practicing in the daytime to go play at night. God bless them. You know what I mean? And same way for people that work a regular job. Man, I can't wait till I get out of here. I want to go dancing tonight. And that takes their mind off of all the stuff that they went through that day. Right? Yeah, man. Music is emotion. Tom, get another question in, man.
I will. Well, just before we go, how do people get hold of you? Are you on social media? How do people find you?
And the tour.
A little bit of promotion. Yeah, I remember that. Thank you for reminding. So yeah, you can go and check us out. You'll find it all through banging it into Google, Gentleman's Dub Club. And yeah, we've got some new music coming as well. So we're going to have an album cycle starting early February. So we got some singles coming out and then an album, and the whole album will be dropped in early summer. And we're going on tour with another group for the first time ever. Actually, we're going with a group called the Skints. Who are cool. They're kind of like there's crossover, but they go in a little bit more into the punky side of things as well. But they're really cool. So we're doing some really decent venues. We're playing the Roundhouse in London, which we haven't played before, so that'd be a lot of fun. And yeah, check it out. Like this, I started a festival 2 years ago now called Good Vibration Society, and to be honest, it's really close to what you guys are talking about. It's exploring well-being, personal well-being through music, movement, nutrition, connection to nature, connection to each other. And so that happens every year at the start of August here in Sussex, called Good Vibration Society. Go and check that out.
Nice.
And yeah, those are the main things. But I want to just cite that it feels really motivating and refreshing to be able to talk about music from this point of view, rather than there being too much like hyperbole and you know, just like it feels genuine and yeah, and that's why I love it. That's why I love what I do, and I feel lucky to be able to do it.
Can we get your endorsement for Music for Global Change?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, what do you want? What, a little drop?
That'd be nice. We ain't scared of that neither.
Man, I'd love to support you in any way I can. Yeah,
thank
absolutely.
you, brother. That's beautiful, because it's a movement, right? And the more people we bring in do is, you know, inspiring music and positive music, man, it's going to bring down the levels of negativity.
I just wanted to say, and go on the website, gentlemansdubclub.com, and buy some of that merch. This merch is pretty sweet, man. Like,
so cool. Yeah.
Very mushroom inspired. Dad, you might want to rock that mushroom hat. It's pretty sweet. But
yeah,
these shirts are cool, man. I'm gonna have to get me some. I think you're almost sold out though, so you better get yours fast.
Yeah, dude,
I'm not a small.
We got a fresh run coming. Actually, we got some new designs. In the pipeline.
Yeah, this stuff looks great. You got vinyls and everything, man. Like this.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And you know, those ancillary, like playing live and the ancillary income, that's how we're able to continue to do what we do and spend genuine amounts of time doing it, you know.
Yeah, support for sure.
And loving it. So thank you. Yeah, please do whatever you can out there. Go and say hello.
Namaste, my brother.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Jonathan.
Thanks for joining us, Jonathan.
Thank you, man.
Thank you so much, man, and keep doing what you're doing.
Get together, music can save the world. Yeah. Music can save the world. Music can save the world. If we all come together, music can save the world. There's an urgency facing our humanity.
Thank you so much for watching. To stay up to date, please click subscribe and hit the bell. You can also join our group on Facebook and find us on LinkedIn and Instagram.